Hey traders, welcome to the Monday weekly strategy for the FX markets. Starting with the dollar, as you can see, pretty strong close for the dollar in an area where we were really looking for the dollar to start to move to the upside. And it's kind of the first signs that we started to get that move. There's nothing confirmed yet. Obviously, we need to get a little bit of a corrective action or a little corrective price structure there, something along the lines of a little bit of a flag, and then an acceleration to the upside to confirm what we're seeing. But right now, there's no confirmation, so we wait patiently for that. But the signs are all there that what we are seeing is the start of that move and the start of the new dollar bull market. So we'll be watching this closely this week. We have Jerome Powell speaking later on today, which may be a catalyst, and a couple of other important economic events coming out this week, which really could be the catalyst for this move towards dollar strength. So close eye on this to see where to from here. But so far, so good. Our analysis has been a little bit worrying of late because of how big this move was to the downside, but we are well in the numbers, well in line with the numbers, as you can see, right at that 1.618 extension for a little bit of a takeoff in the dollar in this region. Euro is the same thing, breaking out of this little rising wedge on the 4-hour with a really strong break. And we're now in a little bit of a flag pattern to potentially trade to the downside. So I think an entry order below these lows is a great way to trade this to the downside. Only concern is obviously rising wedge is also along the same lines as a running flat. So we have to wait for confirmation. We have to just be cautious with our trades here. But from what I'm seeing in some of these other markets, it's really looking like we are moving towards that dollar bull market, like I said. Pound is one of those that's confirming. As we can see, we've had a nice clean corrective structure. A, B, C, D, E, expanding triangle type structure. We'd actually have to draw the a CE trend line, which will only really make sense to members. But what we can see as an A, B, C, D, E with a CE trend line and a BD trend line, and that's an expanding triangle for continuation to the downside. So as you can see, heading into the close on Friday, we saw a big move to confirm, and everything so far is looking good for this move to the downside and for the pound to really start to weaken moving forward. Silver and gold are two other ones that we're really watching here. You can see we've had a type of corrective structure that resembles a topping pattern. Nice big move off the highs, head and shoulders type top. Now we're just waiting for confirmation and move lower from here in silver and gold, but both showing the same things. Again, rising wedge type structure, head and shoulders type structure, and a big ABC corrective structure in gold, and a bigger, much bigger corrective structure in silver, as you can see here with this ABC running flat in this region. So if this really starts to break lower from here, you can really start to expect silver to move lower over the next few weeks and months, and really probably move close to our targets of single digits in silver, if that is the case, if our full structure plays out. But at the very least, we should see 22 on silver, so that'll be a big dip. Downside target on gold remain around about 1250 to the downside, so another kind of $500 down from where we are sitting now. The Aussie dollar, US dollar is another one. It's kind of breaking out of its little section here. Again, head and shoulders structure playing out really cleanly on the 8-hour chart. We're now in the right shoulder and starting to break lower, as we saw on Friday. We're also seeing a little bit of a rising wedge breakout as well on these lower time frame structures. And again, a kind of head and shoulders type top there breaking lower. So this is a big move to the downside, which is a kind of big indicator as to where we're moving from here. And we saw the same thing in the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, even bigger break to the downside. Wouldn't really call this a rising wedge, or maybe a rising wedge. I guess the classical charts would call a rising wedge fake breakout to the upside, which would then turns into a big break to the downside. But higher time frames showing the same thing, really showing a big move off these highs as your first impulse to the downside, and then a little bit of a corrective structure. And we should see from here moving forward, continuation to the downside. US dollar CAD, Brent making new lows. We're waiting for this to turn to the upside. to give us an indication that we are turning. This could be a good trade in here if you can find a good entry, because you could be very much in the realms of picking the bottom of the structure. Just to go to the higher time frames, you can see we have this ABC corrective structure that is now complete, or is in the region of being complete. We can't say it is complete without confirmation, but you can see how we're sitting right in that region where we should start to see a turn to the upside. Maybe go break these lows at 121st, but so far so good. And a big clue for me to that is the US dollar yen. Well, what we saw in the US dollar yen was a really, really big move off these lows. And then what we said, what we expect to see is a big break lower, just a corrective move to the downside, which was this one. And then we should see this start to go back and climb back up to the highs to give us that corrective structure. And what we've seen off of these lows is very much indicative of that. We've seen a really nice big pop off those lows to the upside. We should start to get some choppy corrective price action in this region now, chopping its way back up to the highs at 111. And that's going to be our B wave. And then we'll go C wave after that. And that's exactly what we were expecting. And US dollar Swiss a little bit behind the curve on that, but starting to show something along those lines. As you can see, there's a little bit of a rounding bottom starting to form here. And this should start to accelerate to the upside in a corrective fashion to kind of match what's happening with the yen. But the yen and the Swiss have been leading the way so far. They should go into correction for the next few weeks or months, while the rest of these dollar pairs starts to accelerate and shows its hand. One of them being the renminbi, as you can see. This is a big one for EM, but as we spoke about, this looks like a expanding flat, and we should start to accelerate to the upside from there. And what we've seen on these lower time frames is a nice acceleration heading into the week, into the end of last week and the beginning of this week. So we're watching for this to continue to the upside, and that's going to be big confirmation for us that the dollar tide has turned, especially once we break these highs at kind of 660, 658. That's going to be a key one for us. Copper is another one. As you can see, just looking at this lower degree structure, you have this little impulse, correction impulse that touched on the 0.618 region and starting to maybe see some downside there. And the higher time frame structure still looks like we want to go head towards these lows at kind of $2 per pound on copper. The structure is still there. The members know the higher time frame structure, so we're going to leave it there. Pound is another one that continues to look weak. Expecting this pound New Zealand chart to just pop a little bit from here, maybe pop down first, but still give us another pop higher. That's going to be a corrective structure, ABC trade. Nice running flat to confirm that downside momentum is coming. So I'll be watching for that. We're already short the pound Oz, so we're cautious in trading it because we don't want to have too much pound exposure. But as you can see, looking to get a little bit corrective in here as well in the pound Oz before breaking lower to the downside. So still kind of in slight profit on this pound Oz and hoping to get downside. We're already at break even here, so no risk on the table, and hoping this to start accelerating towards the end of the week. Pound Swiss showing the same thing, nice expanding flat, accelerating to the downside, breaking out of that little flag that we had there. That's looking good. And the pound yen also looking really good. As you can see, as an expanding triangle, we had this A, B, C, D, E, and now we are starting to accelerate to the downside. So to trade this, you could put an entry order below these lows, and that should safely put you in the money if we do go and test these lows once again, because that's a good confirmation that we're seeing this expanding triangle, and we should see continued downside from this region in an impulsive manner. New Zealand dollar Swiss starting to break down, and kind of confirming our price action that we were looking for. We were looking for this little ABC running flat, impulse down, went into a structure. Now we're breaking lower. So entry order below these lows, stop above those highs is a trade we'll be looking for this week, moving forward. Higher time frame structure, really, really nice. Members know what we're looking at. New Zealand dollar yen, just going to take this off the menu. I think a double top or triple top in this region, and we should start accelerating to the downside. I think this is all just one little ABC corrective structure. And then we had a really slow climb back up to the highs. Looks like we just broke the highs, and now we should start accelerating to the downside. So I'll be watching for that moving forward. Euro CAD, Actually going to take off the list, waiting for clarity there. CAD yen I really like, thanks to Hasmane, one of our top members, pointing this out to me on those charts. What we've seen here is really clean corrective structure. So we had this impulse down, A wave up. So all of this is your A wave, choppy A wave. This is all in the middle of a B wave, and then we should get a C wave down the line. And you see how choppy this A wave is. We should get a really, really clean C wave to the upside. And it's a fairly choppy A of B wave. So we should get a fairly nice impulsive wave down at the very least, maybe not such an impulsive one, but it should move quite well to the downside on the higher time frame. So what that means is we are going to be keeping a close eye on this chart for a move to the downside. And we're also getting an option for an extended flag play here within that. So just to show you where we're sitting in this lower structure, what we've had. Oh, this is the wrong chart. Sorry, this is CAD yen. So CAD yen, we're moving to the downside. Swiss yen is showing the same thing, which we'll get to just now, but I'll show you later on. But basically, the Swiss yen chart is in position to break to the downside. And if that is the case, we want to get into the trade. So we'll be watching this, like I said, for an extended flag play. As you can see from the hourlies, we've come a long way without a correction. So we're ready for that extended flag play in this region. We'll be watching closely for that. To catch up, bring you up to speed on the Swiss yen, which is what Hasmane, one of our members, showed us. You can see how what we have here is a nice acceleration to the downside. And what we're looking at here is an A, B, C. So, or we have an impulse A, B, C. Whether that is part of an internal structure, internal correction, or we're going to chop back up to the highs as a big B wave, that's yet to be determined. But what we're seeing here is really choppy price action in this region and really choppy price action in this region. So the first two waves are really choppy. We then have a really nice impulse to the upside, an ABC running flat, and then another choppier impulse to the upside. So we have all the alternation that we need in here. So we have this impulse nice and clean. We have a very choppy impulse. So all of that should be done now. And now we're looking for a move to the downside, which should be really impulsive because of how choppy that wave is. So we're looking for a matching wave that's impulsive. That should give us that. And then another one to the upside that should be really impulsive. So two clean waves to the upside. Now, what that means is we're waiting for the turn in the Swiss yen to the downside. And again, we're looking for that overextended flag play in this region. A little bit of a choppy in here. So you just need to be very cautious that you don't get a move down and then a pop higher to complete before we get this move down. But at the end of the day, we're looking for that entry. We're looking to trade it in the right fashion. So we're looking for a short trade in the Swiss yen in this region here fairly soon. So we're watching this closely because this could be some very, very impulsive price action and we could profit quite well off of that. So I'll be watching that closely. Euro pound still kind of chopping around, not too much to talk about here. We'll just be keeping an eye on that. Euro yen, looking for this move down here. Not so keen on this short, just the price action has been really difficult to trade. So I'd rather wait for confirmation of the structure and trade along from down here. Oz New Zealand is finally looks like it's playing ball. Nice little push off those lows. Just a reminder of the higher time frame structure. What we're expecting is a move up towards 111. And the structure itself is looking pretty good. Accelerating off those lows quite well. So just keep an eye on this to break higher. Wait for this little structure to play out. Big wick to the upside. A little bit of volatility, but it's still looking pretty good to me. We might give this a little bit of time to play out because the corrective structure isn't quite long enough. So maybe one more leg down just to get peace of mind and then trade that to the upside. Oil broke down strongly from our C wave area. ABC to the upside. This B is in the wrong place. ABC zigzag, complex zigzag to the upside. We should start to accelerate to the downside. At the very least, it should just be a C wave of an ABC for upside. But I'm more along the lines of thinking we've topped out. This is an impulse. It's an ABC zigzag correction, and this should continue to the downside quite strongly, especially if the dollar starts to accelerate. So watching that move, not trading it because I'm already in a lot of dollar pairs, but we did say to members that trading this little zigzag here or this little bear flag here will be a strong move, and it has played out quite nicely. So that's a nice little trade and should continue to the downside. Bitcoin giving us what looks like a running flat, but I'm still very cautious of a rising wedge with a retest. So just be cautious of what occurs here. I'm really, really cautious about Bitcoin in this region. If that dollar starts to move, Bitcoin should start to fall, which means we could just see a kind of double top in the 65 region and then a fall from there. That would make a lot of sense in terms of what's happening in the market. So we are long Bitcoin from the 652 to 56 region, but you'll be really, really cautious in this area. We'll be watching these highs at 65 very closely for a double top and a move to the downside. Ethereum accelerating quite strongly in this region, but this could just be the blow off top alt season before we see a move to the downside here. Obviously, this rising wedge didn't play out. I don't think this is an ABC. I think we're just very close to a high. When you look at the structure, we have this impulse, you have this ABC contracting flat, and another impulse that's testing this 3155 to 3200 region, the 1.618. That could be a place for a turnaround in Ethereum. So basically stay long, but if you start to see downside, you want to get out, you want to be cautious here, you want to be very, very conservative with your longs here, because I really feel that we're at a place where we could start to turn to the downside in crypto. So very defensive. Long, but defensive is how I want to play this. It's cool, guys. Hope you guys have a great week. Members, we'll see you in the members area for that strategy session. And yeah, things are looking really good. It looks like we're going to start to have some really, really big profitable trades. We're watching this dollar closely for that. We positioned really nicely, and this positioning should start to lead towards some very, very big profits. So members, keep it up, keep it going. The hard work is going to pay off now. If you're not a member, join the academy, join us in the trading room, and we can really start to take advantage of current market conditions, moving towards what I believe is this dollar bull market. Positioning yourself in the right way is really going to probably pay for all of your course fees over the next few months. So highly recommend joining. Cool, guys. Have a great one. We'll chat soon.